This is the Spartan-Harsey Difensa. That's right, guys. This is the Spartan-Harsey Difensa. Very appreciative to Spartan Blades for sending me over these samples so I can get them over to you and give you my feedback as far as what I think of them. Now, this is definitely something that we probably call in the knife community a vibe knife. When you see it first, when you put it into your hands, when you use it, when you wield it, there's just a certain feeling you get from the knife company, and the knife itself that gives you a good vibe in terms of the knife handling everything you need to handle with it, and it'll feel good doing it. And I definitely have a vibe for many of these Spartan blades, especially these Harsey blades, these designs that are coming from William Harsey. He's a world-renowned designer, and he's done some incredible work all his life, and he's doing some of his best work I've seen with Spartan blades. Now, we can't discount the fact, guys, that this is called a Difensa. Now, there's a reason why it's called a Difensa. So you would see this knife as being sort of a knife in combat, a combat type of knife, a knife that's going to be used in some type of a warfare, defense, or offense type of position. And it comes basically from also the background of why this knife got its name. From a famous battle in World War II, a battle of Monte la Difensa in Italia. Took place in Italy between December 3rd to the 9th in 1943. The fight included a group from Canada called the Devil's Brigade. It was a fight with America and Special Forces in Canada. It was a pivotal battle that unfolded in Italy against the German troops. The valorous efforts of these forces were instrumental in securing an Allied victory in Italy. Spartan Blades and master knife maker William Harsey embarked on a mission to create a blade of exceptional caliber. Thus, the Spartan-Harsey Difensa was born. This knife is paying homage to the collaboration and triumph of Canadian and U.S. forces. Now, I'm not coming to you as a professional knife fighter. When you put this thing in your hand, you can't help feeling that extreme balance that this knife has. Yes, I mean, that's the vibe. Like, the knife has purpose when you put it in your hand. Great knife to basically slash and cut with. Now, the sheath itself, guys, there's different options in terms of the sheath. This happens to be the one they sent me, and this is kind of like a canvas type of sheath with some kind of a plastic or wood core or something like that on the inside. You have obviously all the paracord there that you can basically attach many different things onto your belt. So this makes it for a really good outdoor type of sheath that you can attach a couple different things to it, but there are also options of the Kydex sheath or the other types of sheaths that you can choose from. This happens to be the one that they sent me. Now, this fits really, really well. You can see basically how easy I was able to engage with the knife and be able to basically unsheath it quick, be able to strike and strike and strike again, and there was nothing stopping this knife from coming out and working immediately. So anybody with any skill as far as a knife fighter or somebody who's skilled in self-defense with a knife, a sheath like this would definitely work. It's easy to engage with, easy to basically dispatch and be able to use in an emergency situation. But it just screams military. It screams the Battle of the Monte di Difensa in Italia. That's what it screams. It screams military. I love the paracord. I love that whole green feel of that green army feel to it, that military type of feel, and it fits really, really good in there. And it just I like it. I like the whole feel of this. It carried really well at my side. I had no problem, no discomfort. It adds to the whole feel of the military history of the knife. It's the perfect combination of design, symmetry, and master craftsmanship. That's what this knife accomplishes. It moves so fluidly in the hand. As far as the balance in terms of moving the blade and the point around, it's just seamless. It's almost like an extension of the hand that really does marry craftsmanship and function. It is around 11 inches total. It's around a 6 1/4 inch blade, and it's about 3/16 inch thick. Coating of the blade is a Sparta coat. It's called a PVD tungsten ZRN. It's a flat dark earth finish, or you can get the black finish in DLC. The symmetry of this knife is absolutely flawless, and beautiful. It's almost perfect. The fact that you have a beautiful swedge right here on the tip to give you a reinforced tip. Having the swedge here gives you more penetration. You have wonderful, very gentle jimping here that's very comfortable. You have a finger choil that really you can choke up on to basically do a lot of good utility fine cuts on wood. The handle is absolutely perfect, okay? And look at basically the carvings of the handle. Look how symmetrical everything is on the knife. It is just a marvel of design and function. The way it was designed from Harsey and the execution of Spartan blades in terms of coming off of the paper onto an actual blade is wonderful. Look at how symmetrical the point is to the pommel. Everything is absolutely perfect. It's just a good looking knife. Some might call it sexy. It's a sexy beast. It's a really good looking, symmetrically pleasing looking knife because it is so symmetrical and because it is so comfortable in the hand with the signature basically handle of coming from William Harsey. This thing really does melt into your hand. Choice of materials is also a big factor of what makes this knife part of their elite line of knives at Spartan Blades. The canvas micarta, completely grippy in the hand, even with wet hands while I was doing water cut. The water cuts did not feel like it was slipping at all. You also have the attached lanyard rope, or having that extra finger choil to really choke up on it is a marvel in design because it doesn't take anything away from the actual edge by having this extra ricasso, and it also just lends to basically the aesthetic pleasing look of the design of the knife. The ricasso has a purpose to give you that extra finger choil to really choke up on it between the forefoot drops and the hard throws down at the stump. How incredibly balanced this knife is coming out of the hand. Penetration was wonderful. This extra swedge here they put at the top of the tip here, basically the penetration of this knife is excellent. And the important thing and why I do these tests is also to see if there's any hot spots, and I didn't feel any hot spots whatsoever around the entire handle. Everything, the fit and finish of this knife all the way around is pretty much flawless. It's symmetrical, it's flawless, it feels good, no hot spots, and it's perfectly balanced. Now the material of this knife, of the blade, is CPM Magna Cut. Being that it is Magna Cut, now you have that extra level of corrosion resistance. Some might say some of the best corrosion resistance on the market. In combination with that tungsten DLC coating, you don't have to worry about basically using it outdoors. Edge retention, you're gonna have superior edge retention on the field, which means less breaks to have to sharpen this thing. It's gonna last longer and go a lot farther than any other steel on the market, allegedly. So the choice of putting Magna Cut onto this Difensa is now bringing this knife into a different level. Now it turns into not only a defense knife or a combat type of knife, now it's more of a utility knife, more than it's ever been from its conception because of the decision to use Magna Cut. Now obviously with all Spartan blades, factory sharpness level coming to you is excellent. So you can see it's going through all the materials. I did cutting after cutting after cutting with this, and I couldn't find any way to diminish this edge. I did a lot of cutting with it on and off camera, but you can see basically the materials I'm using on camera are industrial style materials, between the ratchet straps and the fire hoses going into the hard copper wires. Nothing basically can stop this edge from going and going and going. And of course, with all my knives, I use that steel belted sandblast hose, which is a very hard material to cut. It was able to cut through it, but more importantly, I had no doubts that it would not cut through it, but more importantly, I wanted to see if the edge would diminish, or if I found any chips or rolls or anything on the edge, because we're going through steel belted materials. And finally, as its role as a survival knife, in Magna Cut, with the micarta, with the corrosion resistance, with the edge retention, it is a knife that you can survive with. It's a knife that basically you can kindle wood, you can do fine woodwork, you can do all of the things you would want to use a survival knife for, or you would need a survival knife for, including doing bushcrafting type of things with the knife. The edge can handle it. The knife is very strong. It's very comfortable in the hand. Having that extra finger choil there, and you can see how I'm basically able to choke up on the knife to be able to get in and feather stick and process wood like a really good bushcrafting knife, like a knife that you would expect to survive with should do. And cut after cut into different pieces of wood, it really convinced me that basically this is a great outdoor survival type of knife because it can handle all the elements. Yes, I did baton with the knife. Why do we baton with the knife? Because honestly, if you're in a situation where you need to basically process large pieces of wood for a fire, if you need to get warm, and this is the knife you have in your hand, you need to know that the edge can handle it. And I had no doubts with the craftsmanship of Spartan Blades and the Magna Cut, no doubts that it would go through it and it would handle it. And another reason why I like to baton on video is the fact that it pisses people off, and I enjoy doing that sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. It's a great testament to see how strong the construction of the blade and the knife is from the factory and how well the edge holds up. Then to further test and put more pressure on the edge, I was banging this into that 4x4 pressurized wood from Home Depot, and it handled it like a champ. It sliced into it like a big knife. This thing is only 0.710 pounds. It's not a heavy knife, but it's so balanced and it's so easy to cut. This thing basically, when this thing hits material, it just cuts. It just basically cuts whatever is in front of it. And basically slamming it into the wood, I felt good. I didn't feel hot spots. I didn't feel any pain or fatigue. I didn't feel like it was slipping out of my hands. It just cut into that wood like a champ really, really well. Inspecting the edge afterwards, after all the cutting, the steel belted stuff, the abrasive materials I was cutting into, batoning with it, you know, slamming the tip, slamming basically the back of my carder and the finger choil with the wood while I was batoning, and also basically chopping into wood. The Magna Cut edge is absolutely flawless. It's perfect. No rolls, no chips, nothing at all. It looks like a factory edge. And I gotta tell you guys, as I'm feeling it right now, it's perfectly sharp as it was out of the box. Magna Cut is really an amazing steel to be put on to a knife like this. It makes an elite knife just even that much better and more of a reason to want this knife, knowing that it is a Magna Cut. It just fits the overall purpose and use of this knife in terms of how William Harsey designed it and how he wants it used. Giving that Magna Cut in combination with the design and the handle, it just makes it for one of those really great vibe knives out there. One of those really almost perfect knives that you would want to own or have into your collection. Just for science, guys, we're going to basically test this Magna Cut edge in terms of the sharpness level of it is after all the cutting and all the testing to see how much of a sharp level it still has after all of that. Given that it's also an HRC between 61 and 63, it's a pretty hard edge coming out of Spartan Blades. So let's use the sharpness tester to see basically how sharp it still is after the cutting. So I know I tell you I zeroed it out. Everything is good. I'm going to try to do this as slow as possible to give you the best reading that I can, and I'm trying to go right in the center. Wow. Okay. So the reading of this knife right now comes in at around 174 grams of pressure. All right, so here you see 174. Now 174 falls in between 100 and 200. So basically what you're looking at there is pretty much utility razor blade sharp. Guys, 174 is an incredible rating, basically on a knife that has a lot of use on it and a lot of abuse on the edge. To say that this thing is still razor sharp is a testament to how well Spartan Blades is handling their MagnaCut. Now, I've tested all the MagnaCut knives before, and the rating, and after doing testing, and rating was never as good as this. This is better than even some new knives that I've gotten in MagnaCut. A feather in the cap for Spartan Blades for really doing incredible work. And now this is science speaking here, and I'm proving it with the grams per pressure. This thing coming in at razor sharp, even before testing, is impressive. But after testing and all the abuse I put on it, and it's still razor sharp, yeah, this MagnaCut is basically a force to be reckoned with on this Spartan blade. Am I still recording here? Combination of Spartan Blades and William Harsey is probably one of the greatest collaborations in the history of the knife these days. They do such a great job in terms of bringing his incredible designs on paper to fruition, basically in their knives. Just impressed me the most, basically seeing how this MagnaCut works and is continuing to work on the knife, and seeing how this design came to life with the additional quality materials. There's no wonder basically this is part of their elite line of knives. If you want this knife just as a collector, I don't blame you. The fit and finish is literally museum quality. The symmetry and contours and curves of this knife, they're sexy. It's a beautiful knife. But that's not what William Harsey designed this for. William Harsey designs all of his knives to be used. They can handle it. Then his knives are made to be used, and made to be used hard. They look great, but they're made to be used. Now, one of the biggest problems I had, where we had Curtis on from Spartan Blades not too long ago on Blade Talk with Scab and Joe, and I had told him one of the biggest problems I have with all the knives he had sent me is it's just really hard for me to bring myself to use them. But I gotta tell you, even after use, the coating actually still held up. It's still pretty good looking. Even banging in it with the Baton stick, everything still looks good. The coating did hold up for the most part, even with the abrasive metal cutting into the steel and the metal. That's what you're seeing there. But for the most part, the coating really did hold up well. So it's still a very good looking knife. So guys, that's why this is a vibe knife for me. That's why Spartan-Harsey knives in general are all vibe knives for me. I got 2 more to go, and I'm really happy to basically bring those to you. But this is the Spartan-Harsey Difensa for the collector, for the user, for the survivalist. It is a great knife for many different purposes. It really checks all the boxes, guys, once again, as far as that type of knife that has a perfect combination of expert design, symmetry, and craftsmanship. Don't forget, guys, to like and subscribe, and much appreciated for you to join my videos. I'll see you in the next sword and knife review, guys. Peace out, everybody, and be good to each other.